Let's bring in attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, I'm not an attorney, but the way I read into this development from the FBI is that Baldwin either was mistaken, right? He pulled the trigger, but he didn't realize he pulled the trigger somehow, or he's lying about it. Which of those do you think is likelier? Or is there a third option that I'm not seeing?
Hey, Jillian, great to see you again. This is bad news for Alec Baldwin because he has previously said that he did not pull the trigger. So they can't charge him with negligence with that. Now that there's been testing proving that he pulled the trigger, this clearly sets the wave to charge him with negligence, either criminal negligence or negligent homicide. So that's very damaging for him. This also raises the issue of another potential charge, Jillian, which is obstruction of justice. He previously told investigators he did not pull the trigger. There's now forensic testing saying he did pull the trigger. This could lead to a charge of obstruction of justice. This also affects the charges against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed and Dave Halls, the associate producer. Those two now, I think, will be charged with either negligence and or negligent homicide because it was deemed this was an accident. Why is that important? Because they should have made sure that this Colt 45 was cold when it was given to Alec Baldwin.
So, Brian, a whole host of people are being investigated. It's not just Baldwin, it sort of runs in concentric circles around him. Take a listen to what the assistant director on the set told Martha in November.
Did your client hand the gun to Alec Baldwin right before he fired the gun and shot Helena Hutchins?
The armor's responsible to make sure the firearm is safe. The armor opens the revolver, opens the round. My client didn't load the firearm. My client didn't point the firearm at anyone, and my client didn't pull the trigger.
That was obviously not the assistant director. That was the attorney to the assistant director on the set. But a lot of folks saying, look, the buck stops with the armorer on these film sets, as it did in this case.
Jillian, the buck stops with everybody here. This isn't brain surgery, right? The armorer should have looked inside the Colt 45 and made sure there was no live ammunition in there. Equally, Dave Halls, the assistant producer, should have looked in the gun, made sure there's no live ammunition. And an argument can be made that Alec Baldwin gets the gun. He should take a second and look in that gun and make sure there's no live ammunition in there. So the bigger story to me, Jillian, is why has it taken 10 months for the FBI to even do an analysis of this gun? They could send 40 agents down to President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in a weekend. Takes them 10 months to do this. We still don't have any charges filed. We still don't have Alec Baldwin's phone records because they're catering to him instead of serving a search warrant on his house to get his phone, records. And this, to me, is profound again. Politics demonizing our justice system.
Brian, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much. Coming up next, we've got